Hey guys, LeBurn9 Day here with another NHL 14 commentary. Tomorrow is actually the Winter Classic, and I thought what better way to kind of celebrate that, being that I am a Leafs fan, to do a Winter Classic here. I had planned on doing a commentary with Tyson, aka Black 85, but we just haven't had time to really do it. So I thought I wanted to put something Winter Classic related up on our channel. So I thought just simply playing against a computer on Superstar mode and all the settings kind of cranked to make it somewhat difficult. And at the same time, I also switched a few of the rules. Basically, primarily, I think the only rule I really changed was the icing. I put it to no touch icing. It's probably the closest you can get to this in this game because there is no hybrid icing in this game. So I would say probably no touch is probably the way to go. But yeah, I mean, Winter Classic tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Of course, if you follow my channel, you know I am a pretty huge Leaf fan. It's so awesome. I watched the Alumni game today, and it was awesome to not only see the players that I grew up watching. I grew up with the '93 Leafs. That was probably like the first time where I really got into hockey. And seeing Dougie Gilmour, Wendell Clark, Dave Anderchuk, Felix Potvin, who by the way was my idol growing up. I really followed that guy a lot. Like he was kind of like my idol growing up, and watching him play goal, it made me want to play goalie. And of course, I never really took it beyond playing goalie at street hockey and with friends or whatever. But he was definitely an idol, and he was also the first player that kind of made me realize that when it comes to hockey, it's one of those things where you don't really want to pick favorites. I mean, you can like players, you can follow players throughout their career, which I did with Potvin, you can like other teams' players like Steve Yzerman. I always respected him, Joe Sakic with Colorado, and so on. But Felix Potvin was probably the first time that I realized that players do get traded. And it was kind of a shock to me at that kind of age when they signed Cujo to see, Potvin's kind of getting the door in a way. But yeah, but I mean, also with the Alumni game, like I said, you got to see those guys that I grew up watching. But then I also got to see guys I never got to see play, like Daryl Settler and Rick Vive. Lonnie McDonald and Mike Palmatier, who was amazing, by the way. That guy was like old school, but holy crap, he made some spectacular saves with the pad stack and the stick check and stuff like that. Pretty awesome. He's probably him and Cujo are probably the two best goalies in all of the Alumni games this year. Anyway, and I'm trying not to be as biased. Obviously, I am a Leafs fan, but. I think it's safe to say, although Manny Legacy played pretty good. One thing with the Alumni game, I thought was kind of, I don't want to say it's unfair, but I guess in a way it was, is that like a lot of the alumni on the Red Wings were like guys who have only been retired for like a couple of years. Like you look at Lidstrom, who's, I think this is like his second year of retirement. And then you have like Manny Legacy and, like, a lot of guys on that team that like it was only a couple of years that they've retired since they retired. Where if you look at like a lot of the Toronto guys like Doug Gilmour and Dave Anderchuk, Wendell Clark, Potvin, and then of course the older players, like there was a lot of players that haven't played in the league for 5+ years. So I thought that was kind of strange, and in a way it looked like it was kind of like they were just stacking the teams in favor of the Red Wings, but even still, in the end, it was a pretty close game, and it was decided by a shootout, which, my opinion of a shootout, and this is not just because of the Alumni game, this is just my honest opinion of shootouts, despite the Leafs being pretty good in shootouts this year, I just don't like them. I don't like them deciding a game like that. One thing with the alumni game, I wish they kind of would have done, it was maybe do like another like 5-minute overtime, and I would have really liked to see them go through like the whole lineup for the shooters. You know, do the shootout, but like through all players to give everyone a chance. I think that would have been pretty neat. Kind of like the All-Star game, how they have like the breakaway competitions and stuff like that. But I guess they have some time constraints and so on. So I guess they couldn't really spend too much time on that. I guess they had to get the game over with. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow, which is actually funny enough. I'm doing this at like 2 a.m. So it's probably as technically today. But yeah, I mean, I seen. Actually, there's a few funny things I'll get to a little later. But I seen the practice for both teams, and that friggin' place is huge. Like, they call it the big house. Like, no crap, man. It's friggin' huge. And they say it's going to be the biggest one yet. Like 100 and some thousand, 110,000 people. Like, that's a lot of people. And it looks big, but at the same time, it looks like a hockey arena. Like, it's the way that the NHL has done it. Like, designed. Like, even with all these winter classics, like, all of the arenas, like, for that game day, whether it was a baseball stadium or, you know, football stadium or whatever, they've always managed to make it look like a hockey arena, like a true hockey event. And makes, with the big house, it's no exception. It looks phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to that. I hear there's supposed to be snow, possibly during the game. If it ends up being too bad, they might postpone it a few hours to kind of, you know, wait for it to clear. But they're hoping they won't have to do any of that. But yeah, I mean, watching the Alumni, I thought that was cool. I'm looking forward to the real game. I think I have a good feeling. I don't know what it is, but I have a good feeling going into this that the Leafs will win this game. I don't know why that is, but I just got that feeling, and I usually have these certain feelings when it comes to the Leafs. Obviously, the feelings have been truly negative for the last how many years? What was it, like 9 years? But it just seems that you know, there's something about tomorrow. I think they're gonna win. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I mean, speaking about some funny things, like I mentioned, during the Leafs practice, I saw it today. They showed the Leafs practice in between the two alumni games, and was Paul Ranger. He had because you know, they're putting the eye black on underneath their eyes to, you know, to cope with the sunlight and stuff, because that's one of the elements you have to deal with when playing outdoors, especially when, you know, your playing surface is white ice, you know, with the snow glaring on that. I mean, obviously with snow, like, but with the sun glaring on that, it's freaking hard to see. So they put the eye black on. But it was funny because Paul Ranger, he actually came out with a bit of comedy and put it all over his face like war paint. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I like seeing that from players, and not just the alumni, but like the players that are going to play in the game. Like, obviously, it is a real game. There's 2 points on the line. You want to take it serious in the game, but it doesn't mean you can't have any fun. For instance, I remember, I think it was the first. Well, they didn't call it the Winter Classic then. I guess it was the Heritage Classic. It was like, what was it, Montreal and Edmonton, I think? And I remember Jose Theodore had the toque on his head, and I thought that was pretty funny at the time. And you kind of see goalies are doing that now. Even in the alumni game, Cujo had the toque on. During the practice, Bernier had the toque on his head over his helmet. So I don't know if he's going to do that in the game. But it'd be interesting to see if they can make that a kind of a tradition. And I think Brizgalov had that, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check. But when he played in the Winter Classic, I'm pretty sure he had a toque on his head too. And I'll have to check that out. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny with the whole Power Ranger war paint thing. I just like seeing these guys have fun like that. I don't know what it is, but I guess with all these things you always see is always business as usual. So it's kind of fun. I think a lot of it has to do also with 24/7. The HBO 24/7. And one thing with that show is that you realize that these guys, although they're pretty wealthy, they're just ordinary guys. Like the ordinary guys that have, obviously they're athletes, they're well conditioned and stuff, but at the same time, I mean, they're just human beings. And I love that about the HBO 24/7. Kind of seeing like in their lives, like whether it's, as much as I hate him, Daniel Alverson with his family and the whole move from Ottawa to Detroit, and how he's coping with that, and how they celebrate Christmas. He is Swedish, so they have different ways of celebrating Christmas, and stuff. And it was interesting to see that. I thought that was cool. And then you had like in the last episode, you had like James Van Reems like visiting his family for Christmas, and I guess one of their traditions is they play hockey on Christmas Day with his father and his younger brothers. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I swear to God, JVR's dad, I've seen this mentioned a few times already in the forums and stuff. He so reminds me of Eugene Levy from like, he played American Pie and a few other shows. But it's just his mannerisms. There's something about him. Like, he just reminds me of Eugene Levy. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought this whole HBO 24/7, I honestly would love more of it. I kind of wish they would have started from the beginning of the season until the Winter Classic to get more footage. But at the same time, I'm sure the Leafs are glad it's over. Well, at least it will be over as of tomorrow. Like, it's hard to really, especially when it comes to like Randy Carlyle and Mike Babcock. They have obviously they have that problem too. But when you have the cameras in the room at all times, it's hard to really go into detail what you want your players to do. Like, obviously, I think it was in the second episode. Like both coaches were just giving it to their players. Like, especially Randy. Like, he was like so pissed off. He's like you're so effing lazy. You're lazy. All this stuff. It's like you want minutes. You gotta fucking earn them, and so on, like that. Which I thought was awesome. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I'm sure there's different ways of motivating people. In the Leafs case, I think this is probably something that they had to hear. And so far, they've gotten a little better since that game. So it seems to be working so far. Although I still don't like the fact that they get outshot. But at the end of the day, as long as they're winning games, what does it really matter? And of course, you're getting the offense. That's also key. But yeah, I mean, I love the HBO 24/7. I've seen bits and pieces of the other ones, but of course, this being that it features Toronto, I'm more invested in this year's 24/7 as opposed to like the previous ones, because it is my team in there, and I just think it's neat, and I would love to see more behind the scenes stuff. Some of the things like I really loved was the whole contract negotiations with Dion Phaneuf, who by the way did sign a 7-year, $49 million. So that's 7 years, $7 million, which is not that much of an pay raise actually. And personally, I don't mind that deal. I think it's a pretty good deal, but there is some polarizing opinions of Dion Phaneuf. I realize that. I personally like him. I know he makes some mistakes, but which defense doesn't, right? Like, every player makes mistakes. I think the problem with Dion Phaneuf is that he doesn't, or rather, it's not Phaneuf's fault. It's the management. Is that right now we don't really have anybody that can aid Dion. Like there's nobody that can provide a secondary shutdown line or pairing, defense pairing for Phaneuf. So a lot of the hard work ends up going on him. Where if you look at a lot of other teams, like like you look at Boston, they got Chara, but they got others there that can step in to help out. Where like the Leafs, like a lot of the Leafs defensemen are what you would classify as offensive D-men, which not always the case, but in general tend to be more soft in nature. Although I do like the way Franson has kind of turned it on in the past few games, getting more physical. I like that. Ranger actually is starting to improve. I was always one of those ones that was always rooting for Ranger, and I realized that he hadn't played for 4 years in the NHL, so it's hard to just get in and instantly be great, or back to form. Back to your previous form. But I start to see a physical presence with him, like he's using his body. He's using his body to play effective defense, and of course, part of his thing is that he turns the puck over and stuff like that. But you'll learn as you catch up with the speed of the game. I think you'll learn when to do certain things, and I think he's starting to learn that again. Obviously he was pretty good before in Tampa, but as far as I think he only gets like $1 million. It's a pretty good deal overall. He's definitely, in my opinion, he's definitely worth that money. I think a lot of the haters of Ranger don't how do I say that, like, they have these. It's like they forget that all he's making is $1 million. Like, it's not like we're giving Ranger money before, like 4 or 5 million or whatever his salary was before. Like, he's only getting $1 million. So like, he's being paid to be a 5 or 6 defense, and for that he's doing a decent enough job. And I think as he improves, I think he'll, for at least the time being, I think he's going to do it's going to be a good pairing with Riley. And I think the Riley Ranger kind of pairing could be similar to what we had with Franson and Fraser last year, where Fraser was obviously the stay-at-home guy, and Franson was able to do his thing, carry the puck and stuff like that, but at the same time be physical. While Riley isn't as physical, I think he's going to be allowed to do his thing, while Ranger now is able to stay back and worry about defense first, and let Riley do his thing. Of course, I would love to see Riley at some point perhaps be up there with Dion on the first pairing. But, obviously we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. The guy is only, 19? So we don't want to put too much of a burden on him just yet. I don't like rushing these guys. And, you don't want to rush them if you don't have to. But, overall, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. I think it's going to be pretty sweet. And, it's just cool. And I've actually, like I said, I PVR'd the Alumni game, and I'm going to PVR the real game. I've also, for the time being, I've been downloading the HBO series just for backups. If they do release it on Blu-ray or DVD even, I'll probably buy that because I like to own it. But I don't think they released it every year on DVD, so I don't know if they will for this one. I would assume they would. Like, both Detroit and Toronto are pretty popular teams, so you would think there would be a market there for at least DVD. But regardless, just in case, I actually downloaded. I've been downloading them, and I will continue to download the last one, which will be this Sunday, which will actually be after the Winter Classic, obviously. But yeah, as far as like just hockey in general, I mean, obviously the Winter Classic's the big thing here, but as far as like hockey in general with the Leafs, anyway, I think they're kind of trending upwards again. You don't see as many doom and gloom types that you usually see when the Leafs get in a bit of a funk. Now, obviously, I realize that the Leafs didn't make the playoffs for 9 years. I realize that, so you tend to think negative all the time. But hopefully, just as we've seen here, I hope that and I honestly do feel that we are turning in the right direction, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to win the Winter Classic. So I guess we'll wait and see. I did in this video, in this game, and hopefully it'll be similar. Hopefully the outcome at least will be similar, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed this little talk, mostly Leafs talk, obviously, but yeah. Looking forward to tomorrow. Anyways, take care, guys. Oh yeah, by the way, Happy New Year's, all that stuff. And hope you have a good 2014. So anyways, until next time, this is LeBron98 signing out. See you guys. Bye.
Can't get any better. It just continues to do so. We will see you next year.